Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 2 of the semifinals of After Hours Gaming League. My name is In Sigma Theory. We're going to bring to you the other game of Epic versus Amazon. What am I saying, the other game? This could turn out to be a best of 3. Who knows? We're going to see how this one turns out. But Amazon did end up winning game number 1, so we are getting into game number 2. Here we go. So pretty much they have worked out that since Amazon won, they were going to go for the left side on the blue team. So they have switched this one up, and we are going to see Vayne, Rumble, Twisted Fate once again actually banned out for Amazon. Meanwhile, Elise, Singed, and Rise banned out for Epic. So they did actually ban out Singed to sort of take that one away from DJC, as we have seen him play that a lot. Actually, especially in the After Hours Gaming League. He's been doing pretty solid with that Singed up in the top lane, but we're going to see him play Akali, it looks like. So, Volibear, Akali, and Lulu picked out for Epic. That could actually very well be an Akali mid, but it looks like Razion actually picked up Lux just now as well. So, Ezreal, Sona, Jarvan, and Renekton picked out for Epic. And then last but not least, it looks like Caitlyn and Diana last picked for the two teams. So, actually, that is going to be an Akali top lane, and she is going to be going up against a Renekton as well. Usually, and I say usually, it looks like Renekton is one of those very, very strong early laners. So, Akali has some trouble dealing with him. The thing that we have seen, though, is that it's one of those lane matchups that it's not completely one-sided. It's a skill matchup on top of that. So I mean, we saw last game Vladimir actually lost against a Singed, which is not really where kind of logic follows that statement, because usually what happens is Vladimir has such a good harass onto Singed, especially early on, that Singed is not able to keep up with it. But the way that game went kind of threw that for the loop, and we might actually see that once again. So we're gonna see Diana come out against Lux in the mid lane. Now, last game we saw him play Kayle against Lux, and he obviously wasn't really having enough sort of an easy time with that in the mid lane, because what you end up doing is you end up pushing onto Lux with your Reckoning Strike, and that ends up sort of giving Lux free farm, because you can't really fully engage on her when she's kind of stuck under her own turret. So running something like Diana in the mid lane could actually put Razion on the back foot, especially with the way that it goes after level 6, because if Lux doesn't get enough farm from minions and doesn't get enough kills and assists to kind of feed the fuel that is, Lux, they may not have enough of a late game sort of team fight in that aspect. They may not have the poke that they had last time. They may not have sort of the control that they had last time. And especially with the changes of running something like Akali in the top lane, you now really only have Vlad banned out, or you only have Volibear as the tank. So I mean, you really only have Volibear on that side for that one, but meanwhile, you've got Anomaly and you've got Black Mamba running pretty tanky for Epic. So, I mean, they do have that one to go for them. The other big deal that we got to point out here is the team fight that comes out from Epic. Both teams sort of have the really major key points that they have. And we're talking about, let's actually take a look here. What they both have is they both have that assassin dash to get on your AD carry or your AP carry for that one. So they both have, looking at Akali and Volibear, you can pretty much get on whoever you really need to into the teams. Especially taking a look at Epic, they have Diana, they have Renekton, and they even have Jarvan. So pretty much all of them from Epic can really switch around and kind of control the fights that way. They can all pretty much get onto the AD carry, and they can send whoever really has sort of the better time onto that one. But that's pretty much going to be Renekton towards the end of the game, because he's going to start to fall off, and really only in team fights, he's just going to be sort of pushing down onto your AD carry and putting a lot of pressure onto that side. But at the same time, they've also got Sona and they've got Jarvan to control the flow of the fights. But on the while of Amazon, they've actually got Volibear and Lulu to really control the flow of the fights as well. So they've got some pretty solid picks onto that side at the same time. The thing we have to point out, though, is that with the two teams, Ezreal is going to have sort of a stronger mid to kind of late phase-ish, with him having his passive and as well having the Mystic Shot and his ultimate. He's going to kind of have the stronger late game than Caitlyn is. However, he may not get there in time for that one to work out. So we're going to see how this game turns out. They've kind of got a mix of really everything. Instead of sort of going for a general team comp, like instead of having an AoE team comp or a poke team comp or a straight up team fight one, each team really does have sort of a mix of everything. Even with Lux and Ezreal, Lux does have a lot more poke when it comes to it, with her ultimate being on, you know, a 25-second cooldown. But Ezreal's got some poke as well with the True Shot Barrage, and Diana's got a little bit with her Q. So, you know, with the Ezreal Q and the Diana, her Q as well, they could get some pretty solid poke on these two teams. But it is sort of spread out evenly across each person in these teams, and they are really, really solid teams when it comes to team fighting. We've seen some really good stuff come out from Amazon and turn fights around that they might have actually been behind on, and we've actually seen the same thing from Epic. But we are going to get into the game of Epic versus Amazon, and we are going to see Amazon on the blue side this time, and we're going to see Volibear in the jungle, played by Bolly. Up in the top lane, we've got DJC92 once again, but he's going to be on a Kali this time. We're going to see Lulu come out from Rolante. She's going to be the support, or he's going to be the support. Rajon is going to be mid lane Lux once again. And last but not least, for the team of Amazon, we've got AHGL playing the AD carry on Caitlyn. Meanwhile, over on the Epic side, we've got Dequarius playing bottom lane as the AD carry Ezreal. Raffles is going to be Sona support. And apparently Ezreal belongs in a museum. Anomaly's going to be in the jungle with Jarvan. Black Mamba 1221 is going to be top lane with Renekton, and Weave is going to be back in the mid lane with Diana up against that Lux. So once again, across the map, they've got wards going down pretty much everywhere. Epic is staying pretty safe. They've got the entire river warded down, so they've pretty much got an entire idea of what's going on across the map, but it looks like no one's going for an engage just yet. Now, things to point out. This is game number 2 of the semifinals, and Amazon already has a 1-game lead. So we have to remember that Epic, if they want to win and go on to the finals, Epic not only has to win this game, but they've got to win the next one as well. If, however, Amazon is going to be the one to go on, they really only have to win either this game or the next one. So Amazon is going to have a lot of pressure kind of taken off their shoulders. Meanwhile, Epic is pretty much just going to have to win the next 2, so they've got a lot of that put onto them. So they really need to make sure that they buckle down and get this one worked out. But it looks like across the map, they kind of actually traded off their jungle. Renekton and Diana sort of took the race onto the top side, but meanwhile, Caitlyn and Lulu took off the double golems, and Bolly is working towards, looks like the red buff first off. And then at the same time, actually, Akali and Lux worked away at the wolves, so everyone's trying to get a small lead coming into the lane. And we might actually see the lead work out in favor. I mean, Lux and Ezreal and Sona didn't quite get the chance to pull anything off that early on, so they might hit level 2 a little bit later. Black Mamba hits level 2 before Akali does, unleashes the combo just a little bit, and DJC92 kind of stuck down under a couple hundred health. And this is really not where you want to be, especially early game against a Renekton, because that's a lot of damage coming out really, really early on. But the lane is going to be pushing up because of that early engagement there, and this might actually give Akali a chance to farm this one up. Raffles taking a bit of damage there from Caitlyn. She did start Dorn's Blade, as well as Ezreal did. Meanwhile, in the jungle, both of them setting up towards mid. They are going to spot the anomaly coming in onto the river bush. And it looks like, yeah, they are pinging down that they were aware that either a ward is there or someone is there after that fact. But DJC92 up in the top lane, actually able to farm under his own turret from the early push onto Renekton. And this might be just what he needs to sort of get a lead early on to kind of deal with that difference. Lux down in the, Caitlyn down in the bot lane, down in the bot lane, taking a bit of damage from Sona. Man, that 40-minute game kind of set me off. So, back in the mid, Bully set up for a gank on top of Diana. She was able to get out alive onto this one, but she didn't have to burn her flash. Meanwhile, up in the top, DJC92, lane's starting to turn around and actually push towards Black Mamba. Anomaly's setting up for a gank onto the top side, and the lane is kind of set close enough for Jarvan to pick this one off. But he's got to be really careful, though. Looks like Black Mamba here is just trying to get the lane in his favor for this one, not really pushing just yet. Bully once again goes mid lane now that Diana's flash is down, but she did make it out through the river. And the anomaly is still up here in this top lane, and I don't believe that it's going to reset just yet. They are going to have to wait a couple of more minion waves onto this one, so he could actually be here for a little bit too long. Remember, you don't want to wait way too long for a gank because it's a lot of time you could be spending either farming or setting up somewhere else. Meanwhile, Bully once again in the mid lane. Vine tries to come out on top of Diana. Her flash is down once again. You got to remember that Bully flings her over kind of the wrong way, and it just completely engages on top of this one. Meanwhile, up at the top, Black Mamba and Anomaly go down on top of Akali, and that was just not enough to hold this one down. Once again, Bully's still here in the mid lane. They're trying to get some of the advantage to go on top of Lux. And you got to remember, Diana is really actually well equipped to deal with a Lux, but it looks like the Anomaly going straight in towards a gank as well. Counter gank comes out on the side. Weave is actually getting caught out. The binding lands down on top of him, as well as the fling over the backside. And he's going down to the ignite, but it's really low. The flash comes out for Lux, picks up the first blood onto Amazon. So pretty solid play there coming out from Amazon. Mid lane is going to get first blood 5 minutes and 30 seconds into the game, where Aegon is actually able to pick that one up. Meanwhile, down at the bottom, trade is coming out from both players. Aquarius is taking a little bit of damage, but you got to remember, now that you have Sona in your lane, you really do actually have some healing power, and they have the ability to kind of deal with the poke that comes out from Caitlyn and Lulu. But the damage that that Sona and Ezreal can do to either of these bottom lane champions is actually going to stick a little bit longer. You may have the shield that comes out from Lulu to kind of mitigate some of that damage, but you don't really have the heal to kind of get that back and forth. So Bully tries to get the fling on top of Black Mamba. He actually has to flash out, and DJC92 getting some damage onto Renekton, but the ignite is not enough to pick this one off. So Black Mamba gets away from that gank just in time to make it alive. But we've got to remember that Renekton is only at 34 CS, and Akali now kind of in this top lane alone. She can really free farm, and they are level 6 once again. So Renekton is still going to have, you know, kind of an easy-ish time to deal with Akali at this point in the game. But if he doesn't really get anywhere big with her very close, she's going to start to outscale him really quickly. But we are going to see Renekton get back to lane with a Giant's Belt, so he's got a lot of health, a lot of damage mitigation to get through the damage that Akali's going to do. Meanwhile, down at the bottom, Weave is going up for a gank on top of AHGL. They're going to have to flash out, and that is going to blow the flash from Sona as well. Not able to pick up anything just yet down on the bottom side, but that was a pretty solid gank. They did burn a summoner off of that one. All right, meanwhile, the pink ward goes down onto Dragon, so they are able to pick this one up, and they do actually set a ward down inside of the Dragon Pit once again. I actually got to point out this side. Epic has actually done this twice now. They've put a ward just in the corner, so the pink ward cannot see it just yet. You actually have to send someone into the Dragon Pit to kind of check that one out. So of all the things that have been going on, I really have to point that out, because it's just such a solid game mechanic that a lot of people really don't utilize, that a lot of people really don't sort of have ready and available in their arsenal. So that's a really, really good ward spot there from Epic. All right, so back at the mid lane. Diana here getting engaged on by Lux. Now, she did come back to lane with a Cage's lucky pick, so she's got a little bit of damage, but we got to remember Diana came back with a Doran's ring, so she's got the mana regen she needs. Black Mamba up in the top lane, starting to take a little bit of damage there from Akali. And once again, it's kind of where you don't want to be when you're playing Renekton. When you start to get behind in a lane, it really snowballs very quickly. You pick Renekton much like you would pick something like Lane Lee Sin. You really pick it for the early game advantage. And if you're not making use of that, if you're not really using it to your advantage, it's going to start to fall by the wayside. But the only problem is that Amazon is not really giving them the opportunity to use that one up. So Amazon playing this one very, very, very well for this side. So it looks like back at the mid lane, Jarvan kind of setting up for a gank here, but he's got to be really careful as this entire side is warded out. Now he is aware of that ward in that bush, so he doesn't really want to show that one just yet. He's going to fling over the wall, possibly head towards bottom side, because there's really no ward to spot him out just yet. Pings are going down, probably asking if there's a ward in that bush, and I can't imagine that. No, there isn't. Yeah, they're just going to pop down a vision just to make sure. So Jarvan is sitting up for a gank into this bottom side lane. Meanwhile, AHGL and Lulu kind of stuck under their own turret. She is pushing, though, so she's got to be really careful. Bolly actually turns around for a counter gank down on the bottom side. Tribush is pinked out, so they aren't going to spot this one just yet. Raffle's actually engaging this fight entirely. Gets down really low. Bolly comes in from the back, is able to pick up the Sona right from behind. The exhaust has to go down. Anomaly goes down to the turret as well, but not before he takes Caitlyn down at the same time. Bolly here getting focused down by Ezreal. He does have his ultimate taking away, or his passive taken away, but Ezreal's able to pick up the kill onto Bolly. And Rolante here working his way alone on top of Ezreal. He's able to pick up the kill and actually turns this lane into a 2 for 3 down in the bottom side. So Rolante is actually able to make it out alive and pick up a kill into the bottom side. So holy cow, they turned that around really quickly. Lulu picked that one up really fast. Black Mamba here turns around with the ultimate to try to force the fight out on a DJC, but DJC is able to back out with the Shroud. And now Black Mamba's ultimate is down, so it looks like DJC might go for an engage here. Black Mamba goes slice and dice over the minion wave. He actually starts to work away onto Akali. The ignite goes down. He's not able to pick up a kill just yet with that one, but he is able to force Akali out of lane and really start working away at the turret. This actually might go in his favor just enough. Now, you got to remember, 64 CS on Renekton to 61 on Akali. The lane is pretty even, but in 11 minutes into the game, it's still in favor of Renekton, but it's not going to be for long, especially now that Akali's picked up her Hextech Revolver. She's really got the spell vamp to kind of deal with that and mitigate some of the damage, sort of steal the health back rather than take less of the damage onto that one from Renekton. But we are going to see Akali start to scale a little bit better, especially when it comes to these fights. Bolly goes in for a gank on top of mid lane. Diana's going to make it out alive, and not really too worried about that one just yet. Jarvan did try to set up for a counter gank, but they just kind of said, you know what, no, go back to farming. We are just going to hold this one out. Don't worry about me too much. But, you know, take a look. Lux here at 82 CS, about 16 ahead, or 14 ahead of Diana. Now, that's not really that much. Let's just kind of put this into perspective. 12 minutes into the game, much more, like, let's say 116 minions have actually come out in each lane. So, I mean, of course, these players aren't at perfect CS, but Lux is actually pretty far ahead of Diana at this point, because Diana really only has about a little over half of the total CS that she could have. And remember, Diana did die once and give up a kill to Lux, so she's got that gold lead into the mid lane. Raffle's taking a lot of damage there from Lulu and Caitlyn. Turns around, Weave is actually in the mid lane against Bolly, trading this one out. Bolly actually turns around with a nice hit there onto Diana. Is going to force him out of lane and go get the blue buff there from the jungler. Meanwhile, Lux just now hitting mid from the top lane. Black Mamba heading straight for his own turret. Doesn't quite want to lose this one just yet. Now, he did come back with a longsword and a null magic mantle, so he is rushing straight for a Hextech Revolver. after picking up that Giant's belt. Or not, Hextech Revolver. Man, the name just completely eludes me now. It's the one that gives him a shield for the magic. Ah, well, we'll figure it out when he gets to it. Oh, that's so bad. You'd think I should know something like that, but there's so many names you gotta remember. Sometimes they just kind of fly out of your head. So, red buff being stolen here onto the Amazon side. Renekton working away at his double golems. He's actually completely unaware of them taking the red buff, but he did spot them coming down towards that side with a ward. Meanwhile, Diana and Jarvan are coming up to try to slow this one down, but no, looks like they're able to get away with the red buff pretty handily and get out alive. Meanwhile, down in the bottom, AHGL and Rolante are starting to push up onto Ezreal's turret. Kind of putting some pressure onto it. They've even got a lot of traps down across the bottom side to really put the control onto this lane. Ezreal did come back to lane with a Bilgewater Cutlass. Bottom lane turret looks like it's starting to work its way down. It's at 100 health, and there it is. AHGL was able to pick up bottom lane turret, putting a little bit of an advantage towards Amazon. It is 19,400 gold to 17,000. In favor of Amazon. 4 kills to 2, 14 minutes, 30 seconds into the game. Amazon has a pretty solid 2,400 gold lead just now. Looks like Jarvan is working towards his Locket of the Iron Solari next up. And Rolante did come back to lane with a Cage's Lucky Pick and a Philosopher's Stone. Kind of funny not seeing these players straight up rush a Spirit Stone, or not a Spirit Stone, a Sight Stone. You know, with the change of the Sightstone not being just straight up bought for 700 gold and built from a ruby crystal, it's kind of not one of those things you really do rush straight up anymore. Black Mamba gets hit by the Lux, or the Lulu ult, flinging him up in the air, and Lux is able to pick up the kill with her own, let's see, Final Spark, as the new name of it is. Weave actually comes in from the side here, trying to force a fight once again, but it is 5v4 down here onto Dragon. 5 kills to 2 in favor of Amazon, and they were able to pick up a kill onto Renekton in that fight here. The Hex Drinker, that's the name of it. Man, I knew it was Hex something. Oh, there's so many of those. Okay, so... oh, that's bad. Alright, so back at the mid lane. Now, Diana has only 2 Doran's rings. 16 minutes into the game, you usually want to be building your first item. At least either sort of have half of the components or almost built the entire item. You generally don't want to not even be getting into it, you know, by the 16-minute mark. Diana's actually falling really far behind. Now, if we take a look at the total gold to spend, though, he's got about 2,000 gold. It looks like he straight up bought a needlessly large rod. So there's that first part of the item that he's working out. He gets it a little bit late, but, you know, at 16 minutes, he can still kind of recover from that difference in CS, or in that difference in money. But it looks like up at the top, Anomaly kind of taking his own double golems. That is going to put him sort of out of range of kind of stopping this dragon. They might actually have to give up the first dragon of the game. I don't think there's really anything Epic can do to stop this one just yet. The True Shot Barrage comes out at just the wrong time, and we're not able to pick that up. But it looks like Amazon finishing off the first dragon into this game 17 minutes in. So Black Mamba 1221 though is really pushing up top lane. I think he's going to get this turret and sort of even out that gold difference. That did put a bit of a lead towards Amazon, but this is going to allow them to sort of kind of drop that lead just a little bit. But that is a 3,200 gold lead for Amazon. And to give you an idea, it's 17 minutes of the game, 3,200 gold. That's a full-on item. That's exactly what they need. Now, remember, not all of that gold is on one person, per se, but they are a full item's worth of gold ahead. So that is something you do have to worry about in these fights. Now, we do have to remember, though, Ezreal has his Blade of the Ruined King finish. He doesn't quite have level 2 boots like Caitlyn does, but he is pretty on par with the damage output from Caitlyn, even though he's a little bit behind. Meanwhile, though, Lux in the mid lane with the needlessly large rod and a Cage's Lucky Pick kind of has, I don't want to say I don't want to say more damage than Diana, because Diana has a lot of presence in these fights, but Lux here actually steals away the blue once again. This Lux, I gotta hand it out. I might have to make a montage video of that, because Rajon has pretty much stolen every buff, every blue buff in these two games. He's been doing pretty solid with that one, I'm not gonna lie. His Lux play is really scary and is not something I want to go up against. But it looks like Lux here once again with the stolen blue buff taken from his ultimate. Man, that's really solid. But up at the top, Black Mamba comes back to lane with boots and no magic mantle, so he hasn't finished any major item just yet. Meanwhile, though, Jarvan has finished his locket full on now. Taking a look at the difference in support money is kind of one of the big indicators of how the game is going, because you got to remember, support isn't one of those roles that gets a lot of money from kills or anything, or from CS. All of the money that support gets is basically A, from gold per 10, B, from spending like less money on wards, just a little bit. It's a big enough factor to actually imply in these games, but it's not that big to where it really gives an advantage for you to not buy wards. And then on top of that, we got to remember objectives, and we have to remember assists. Kind of the big note from these two supports is that Lulu is at 4,600 gold, and Sona's only really at 3,800. So Lulu's got a pretty solid 1,000 gold lead, which has gained her the ability to pick up a Ruby Sightstone upgrade, as well as the Cage's Lucky Pick, which is really only going to snowball her more up against the Sona. Now remember, they are supports, so they don't really need the items. They aren't really champions that aren't useful without items, but they are going to make that much of a difference. Up in the top lane, Black Mamba needs to see trading this one out. He could get stuck out on top of this one. Black Mamba forced to pop his ult, but the Hexdrinker comes in, is able to give him enough of a shield for DJC92 to go down. He's able to pick up a kill into the top lane, sort of reduce the pressure from to that side. Meanwhile, Rajon in the middle, kind of trading back and forth with Diana. Actually not even trading. Doesn't even want Diana to get close enough to really kind of utilize that. Meanwhile, she did pick up a Rabadon's Death Cap and the Sorcerer's Shoes, so she's got a lot of magic penetration and a lot of damage straight up. But looks like all of Epic is pushing up towards this mid lane. Now, Akali is just now respawning, so I don't think they're going to get a turret off of this, but Caitlyn is still in the bottom lane. So this could be a 4v5 pretty quickly, and Akali isn't heading mid as well. She's going straight for the top lane, and it looks like Renekton here is just going for bottom side turret. They're going to reduce the pressure onto that one instead of forcing a fight just yet. Bully here on top of Raffles, trying to get some damage off. But the reduction comes out from Sona. He's going to hold this one off just yet. Pink ward comes out from Bully, kind of stopping a ward there from Sona, but pretty solid warding coming out from Amazon. They've got the entire river warded out, as well as some pretty key points in the jungle. Meanwhile, there's really not much that Epic can see. Black Mamba committing on top of AHGL, but meanwhile, some damage going on top of Anomaly. He's able to get flung back over the wall. The Crescendo comes out, stunning him in place. But Diana's not able to hold this one just yet. That was actually a 3v4 in the mid lane, and they were able to pick off Jarvan, as well as get top lane turret, and then keep AHGL pretty safe in the bottom side. And Dequarius coming down here in the bottom for a little bit of reduction on that pressure, but mid lane, turret's taken quite a bit of a hit. It's at 700 health. They got to be pretty careful onto this one. Akali's up at the top at the same time, so they're really putting a lot of. I have to give Amazon some pretty props, I guess you could say. They're always keeping pressure on every lane and controlling the entire flow of the game. They may not be, they may not have all lanes ahead, but they're starting to actually really just, they're starting to say, you know what, it really doesn't matter that your top lane can destroy ours, or it really doesn't matter that your AD carries ahead, or it really doesn't matter that your jungle has a little bit more team fight. It really doesn't matter, if any single part of your team is ahead, because they're forcing the flow to completely go their way. Even though they're not running a split push Singed anymore, they're actually kind of keeping someone from Epic always away. They're not always fighting 5-on-5. They're always running either a 5v4 or 4v4 at that. They've really got a lot of pressure on top of Epic, and you gotta remember, Epic has to win this game and the next one to win off into the finals, to go into the finals. But DJC92 going right on top of Renekton. He actually gets completely turned around. Jarvan comes out with the ult, landing straight on top of him, but he's able to actually charge over the wall. And Diane is able to pick up a kill onto Akali. Meanwhile, Jarvan goes down, getting completely focused down. Bully comes in from the side. Black Mamba gets pretty low. He actually just completely forces in on top of a fight. And all of Amazon is pretty much still alive. DJC92, the only one down. Raffles gets focused down as well with a fling over the wall. And they were able to force that fight, especially in their favor. That almost worked out for Epic. But having Akali able to hop over the wall and almost make it out alive actually kind of forced the fight to really go their way. Renekton getting caught out really put Epic in a bad spot, and then when the rest of their team just engaged on top of Amazon, is just not where they want it to be. And now Epic is in kind of a bad situation. 37,200 gold for Amazon, 28,900, now 29 to 10 kills to 4, 3 turrets to 1, all in favor of Amazon. 24 minutes, 30 seconds into the game. Amazon is doing pretty solid once again, and I think the pressure is starting to hit on top of Epic. Now, we've seen Amazon come a long way since the start of the season for the After Hours Gaming League. They kind of had a rocky-ish start. The team wasn't really, you know, fully all there. They kind of had some mishaps here and there, and they were starting to get capitalized on. And Amazon has actually had some really solid improvement over this season. I'm really actually proud of this team to where they've come into, and Epic, who's been really solid all throughout, is kind of starting to get stuck onto the back foot. Raffles gets flung over the shoulder from Bully. Eurasian just completely blows him up into the mid lane. And now that is going to put the mid lane at a 4v4 since Renekton is heading up as well. Meanwhile, AHGL down in the bottom lane, once again putting pressure onto this bottom side. They're not straight up fighting a 5-on-4 or a 5v5. They're putting so much pressure onto these 3 lanes. And Weave actually gets completely engaged on by the Lux Laser. DJC92 gets turned around and knocked up in just the right time to hold this one off. Anomaly here, ulting on top of the 2 teams, gets completely stuck in the backside. Is not where you want to get turned out around, and a double kill comes out from Eurasian, forcing this fight to really go in his favor. Once again, now in the bottom lane, AHGL is just completely working away at this turret. Mid lane turret taking a lot of pressure as well. Sona's really the only one defending, and he does not want to get caught out, as Sona's really squishy, especially at this point in the game. So bottom lane turret and mid lane turret have gone down. It's 14 kills to 5, 42,800 gold for Amazon to 31,500. Epic is kind of stuck, and we've seen bigger comebacks happen, so it's not completely over yet. And we do have the team fight from Diana, Renekton, and Sona. It's definitely something to be reckoned. It's not something you can kind of brush off and say, oh no, we got this. Even if we lose a member, we've still got this. You can actually get stuck in a bad position with all of those champions. So Epic can still win this. They can still make something happen, but Amazon is making them work for it, and it's just such a bad spot. I think the losing the first game and making this a best of 3, making sure that they have to win this one and the next one, is kind of starting to work away at their nerves, because they're really kind of getting they're not really all there. The Lux Laser comes out, kind of works everything down from Epic, and they were just trying to delay that turret going down, but they were able to just pick that one up, and they're going to back off. And now that Epic is grouped all 5, and Akali's heading down as well, this could actually turn out to be a 5-on-5 fight. Amazon might force this one out. We'll see how this one comes out in just a minute, as Lux is getting her own blue buff right now, because they need that laser to come out really often. Lux actually picked up a Void Staff as well as the Morellonomicon, so her cooldown reduction again, actually, where did that one go out? Why did that switch? The cooldown reduction once again is at 40%, and she really does work away with that laser. All of Amazon is working towards the Baron at this point. They are all 5 here, and not really all of Epic is there in time. The True Shot Barrage from Ezreal did come down, so they're not able to steal it that way, but Anomaly tries to go over the wall and steal it. He gets completely just focused down. He's not able to pick up the steal onto this one, as Caitlyn did finish off the Baron. And Amazon is pushing down the mid lane, it looks like. I don't know that Epic is going to have an easy time stopping this push. Diana has finished her Zhonya's Hourglass, though, so she does kind of have a threat in these team fights, but she doesn't really have any major items outside of it. You know, Renekton does have his Sunfire Cape, he has his Hex Drinker, so he's got a little bit to deal with. Ezreal has the Blade of the Ruined King, and he has an Infinity Edge, so he's got a lot of damage, but he can't really get close enough without worrying about how these fights are going. The stun comes out from Black Mamba, trying to pull Bolly off to the side. Aquarius does not get pulled in and flung over the back, but it looks like DJC is able to pick up the mid lane inhibitor. Diana comes in from the back. He tries to get something onto it, but a Caitlyn trap stops this one out. And Epic is once again stuck in a really, really bad situation. We're going to see if they're able to make something happen of this just yet, but, you know, they're just... Amazon is just doing so well at making Epic work for it. These games are actually much closer than it seems in terms of player skill, but actually Anomaly is able to pick up his own blue buff. The Mist Smite comes out from Bolly. He's not able to secure that one just yet, so Jarvan actually gets his own blue buff this time around. Not quite going on to Diana though. This wasn't some of one of those situations where you just want the blue buff yourself. You don't want the enemy team to have it at all. You just don't want Diana to have her own blue buff. It's much better for Jarvan to have the blue buff than for Diana to have it, because, you know, even though it's still useful on a champion like Jarvan, it's really, really critical on a champion like Diana, especially when these fights want to go in their favor. Denying Diana her own blue buff is just really, really big for Amazon. So they are setting up for a dragon on the bottom side. Now, they still have Baron buff, so they got to be really careful how they use up this time. I'm wondering once again whether they're just going to push, you know, into the 50-minute timing and sort of just wear Epic down when it comes to it. They might be in a bit of trouble when it comes down to that, but they do have Baron buff, and they need to make something happen here and now if they want to go on and take a win to go on to the finals. If they can force a fight now, they could actually just end this game and go on and just face you know, one of the other two teams, whoever works it out. That happens on April 1st. It could actually force this one out, but Rajon actually gets the combo off on top of Jarvan, putting him at just under a quarter health, and bottom lane turret is at half health itself, or actually about a third. So they could actually force this turret down. Meanwhile, you've got Super Minions and DJC pushing down the mid lane. Jarvan just now came back with almost full health. He couldn't actually even wait to be healed completely full from the Summoner's Well. AHGL is working away at this turret with that really long range from Caitlyn. Bolly able to pick up the bottom side turret. Inhibitor's starting to get some damage as well. All of both teams are here. They are trying to set up for a fight onto this one. Lux gets completely going with that combo. Anomaly turns out the Cataclysm on top of the entire team of Amazon, but they just didn't have enough damage to back this one up. 3 kills have gone out for Amazon, picking up the 4th on top of Raffles just now, and it looks like Amazon is gonna win the semifinals of Epic versus Amazon. They are working away at the second Nexus turret. I don't know if anyone from Epic is going to be able to pop up in just enough time. Nexus is going down. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Amazon's going to pick up a win against Epic in the semifinals for the After Hours Gaming League. Once again, I would like to thank you all for watching. My name is InSigmaTheory. You can catch me here on twitch.tv/InSigmaTheory, or you can always follow me on, you know, Twitter and Facebook, facebook.com/InSigmaTheory or twitter.com/InSigmaTheory.